The starting special stats for this build are 3 strength, 7 perception, 2 endurance, 3 charisma, 4 intelligence, 8 agility, and 2 luck. This does include the special book in Sanctuary, and I would also highly recommend getting the perception bobblehead early on too, as you will need 8 perception at some point when playing. Overall, this special loadout is somewhat min-maxed, with a priority on perception and agility, which provides high VATS accuracy, plenty of action points to play around with, and a bit of a bonus to stealth to boot. The perks for this build will be split up into major, minor, and roleplay, with major being the perks you should be picking up immediately, minor being helpful but able to be held off on grabbing, and the role-playing perks should only be picked up when there's none of the others available to purchase. The major perks for this build are Sneak, Rifleman, Ninja, and Lone Wanderer. Sneak is very much the primary perk of the build, helping us to remain undetected during combat. Not only is stealth a vital component of a character, but the added effects of not triggering mines and other floor-based traps is one of the best side benefits out there. Rifleman is up next and doubles the base damage of our sniper rifle, as well as adding a little armour penetration too. One-shot kills are a big deal for stealth-based builds, so the more damage we can get stacking the better. To go along with this, we also have the Ninja perk, which drastically increases the sneak attack multiplier. Much better to deal 4 times damage with your attacks than just 2 times. Final of the major perks is Lone Wanderer. This is basically the strongest perk in the game, providing several different boons. Bonus carry weight, percentage based damage reduction, bonus damage to all attacks, and even some extra action points to play around with. So many great effects to benefit from, so long as you're okay travelling without any companions. The minor perks of the build are Action Girl, Gun Nut, Mr. Sandman, Scrounger, Sniper, and Armourer. Action Girl lets you replenish action points faster than you normally would. Every character uses action points, but this one has an additional way they use AP, so added replenishment goes a long way. Next up is Gun Nut, which you only need to pick up 2 ranks of. Gun Nut rank 2 is enough to fully upgrade the weapon of the build, making it the most efficient perk on the list. The Mr. Sandman perk boosts stealth damage with suppressed weapons. While certainly not as powerful as the Ninja perk, it's still a nice added multiplier to all of our sneak attacks. Scrounger helps with finding additional ammunition when out and about. 50 cal rounds are quite tricky to come by, but with this perk you can find a fair few more. Plus you can sell the alternate ammo types you pick up in order to buy 50 cal rounds from wasteland merchants. We then have the Sniper perk, which as you'd imagine makes sniper rifles better in a variety of ways. It makes aiming when scoped more stable, boosts headshot accuracy in VATS, and makes it so sniper rifles can knock down enemies they hit, which is great when taking on tough foes who don't go down to a single shot. Final of the minor perks is Armourer. With this you'll be able to upgrade the Chinese stealth armour in order to add some extra damage and energy resistance. As this is primarily a stealth build, armour ratings aren't the most important thing to worry about, but with this perk you can make it so you can survive in an open firefight. And finally we have the role-playing perks, which are Hacker, Locksmith, Awareness, and Quick Hands. The Hacker perk will allow you to break into terminals all across the wasteland. Not typically the most needed of benefits, but with this perk we can unlock the odd side route which helps with stealth in certain interiors. Likewise, the Locksmith perk can also help with getting locked doors open, as well as plenty of other containers, helping with getting some extra loot here and there. The Awareness perk will allow you to see enemy resistances inside of VATS, as well as making VATS-based combat a little more effective with the second rank. And the final perk of the build is Quick Hands. This isn't normally a perk I go for, but I noticed that the weapon for this build has a bug where it sometimes just reloads after you take a shot, regardless of how many rounds are left in the magazine, so figured this perk actually has some use. The final rank also provides some extra action points, which is a nice little bonus to have. The equipment for this build is quite straightforward, as there's only a single weapon to cover and a single armour piece. The weapon for this build is the Anti-Material Rifle. By completing the quest associated with this weapon, you should end up picking up a version with the penetrating effect, and after doing so you can purchase different variants at merchants. This is basically just an improved version of the base game's hunting rifle, so for those playing on base game, you can just stick with a hunting rifle and modify it with a 50 caliber chamber. It won't be as powerful as this gun, but still works in the same basic way. The armour for the build is the Chinese stealth armour. This can be picked up at the South Boston military checkpoint, and is an all-in-one piece that generates a stealth field while you're crouched down. This field will consume action points while walking backwards and forwards, though this is rarely a problem. For the most part this just means you're equipped with a semi-permanent stealth boy effect, making stealth much easier than with just about any other armour set. Additionally, the suit provides a small amount of damage resistance, which can be increased drastically if you unlock Ballistic Weave, turning this stealth suit into a decent defensive option too. Sadly, there isn't really a base game alternative, though shadowed armour mods can help a little with stealth. If you want a somewhat similar aesthetic, then my Cyber Ninja build from back in the day can provide you with some inspiration. I decided to side with two different factions when playing this build, the Minutemen and the Railroad. These are the two good guy factions of the game. One of them helps defend the citizens of the Commonwealth, while the other keeps Simps safe from the Institute. Both factions are more concerned with helping regular people and putting others before themselves, and this will very much gel with the Communist. These two factions also do work quite well alongside each other, allowing for plenty of extra quests to complete and a fair bit of variety. Plus, you will need to help the Railroad out if you want to unlock Ballistic Weave. I travelled without any followers with this build as I was using the Lone Wanderer perk, which only provides benefits if you fly solo. On top of this, I find that followers typically don't work all that well when playing as a stealth-based playstyle. That being said, plenty of followers do have good perks, and in particular Deacon has a great perk that can make this character significantly stronger. Feel free to travel with him for a while so you can boost his affinity and get that perk. This is technically a fairly standard sniper build in terms of playstyle. You want to stay far away from your targets, crouch down and hidden, and then land a deadly headshot on your opponent without them being able to do anything to stop you. The creations just enhance the playstyle, with the rifle being a stronger version of a hunting rifle in basically every way, and the Chinese stealth armour saves you from needing to use stealth boys. Manual aiming typically works best at very long range with the sniper rifle, but at close range, especially within buildings, then switching to VATS can be very effective, especially as the sniper perk makes it easier to land headshots. Your stealth build will also help you when you're at closer ranges, as most enemies will struggle to spot you as long as you remain almost invisible. That said, once you get Ballistic Weave unlocked, you can make your armour fairly good at keeping you alive. Even with such low endurance, you can still survive a fair few attacks. This was particularly good for me, as I kind of suck at stealth. In terms of role-playing, working through the chosen factions will do most of the heavy lifting for you. Helping others live simple yet sustainable lives without people at the top taking everything is kind of a goal. Wasteland living may not be glamorous and farming sure ain't easy, but it's an honest living where everyone can ensure their communities keep going. The goal of this character isn't to strive to great personal glory, but instead to make it so regular folks can lead decent lives. The Communist grew up in America, born to a family of Chinese immigrants. From a young age she dealt with a great deal of discrimination, as she was always seen as an outsider by her peers. Not finding herself with many friends, she instead spent much of her youth with her nose buried in books. In particular, she enjoyed reading various books about history, learning about the rise and fall of different civilizations, and about how both America and China had developed over the years. The books about America talked about how some brave and handsome adventurers fought valiantly and with honour in order to settle the savage lands they discovered, whereas the books about China talked about how various violent and disorganised groups terrorised the land and butchered one another in a constant bid for power and dominance. As she grew older and read more and more books like this, she grew to realise how deceptive the authors could be. Even though they both claimed to be telling the truth about the events of the past, each phrased war in a different way, with the Americans always being heroes, while the Chinese were seen as villains, even at times when both were doing the exact same thing. It was through this that she learned all about propaganda, how governments would shape things to keep themselves in power and make anyone who went against them seem evil. She studied more of this as time went by, broadening her horizons to how governments use laws to control their people, and how different political ideologies put different groups first. It was through this that she began to lean towards communism. Capitalism was a system that funneled all of the wealth towards a small number of individuals who could live lavishly, while those that worked hardest could barely scrape by. Communism, on the other hand, seemed to place the emphasis on the majority of the citizens, ensuring that all workers always had the essentials that they needed, with a roof over their heads and food to fill their bellies. She knew she couldn't truly improve the country she was born into in such a drastic manner, but she still tried to do what she could to help out regular people who didn't have the power to win against foes with wealth and influence. And so she ended up becoming a public defender. This job allowed her to help those who didn't have the means to fight for themselves within the capitalist system, those who had been thrown to the sides of society or discriminated against and had the odds stacked against them since birth. It wasn't a perfect solution, but she felt good knowing she was helping in some small way. This was how she resisted for many years, but after the bombs fall, she will awaken to a new world, one where capitalism no longer has a stranglehold on everyone. In this world, she could maybe make more of a positive change on things, and maybe, just maybe, have the common folk of the world all be equal once more. Apologies that it's been so long since my last Fallout 4 build. I had planned on getting one out in January, but I've been ill for the past month, and still am not doing great. Doing great. This has been a nightmare to try and record. I'm not certain when my next video is going to be, because I'm not doing well. If you do want some more frequent content from me, then check out Bad Company Gaming, my second channel where I'm currently doing some Fallout challenge runs. I've already got Fallout 4 challenge runs scheduled for the next month or two, and hopefully I'll be able to finish off the New Vegas challenge recordings when I'm feeling just a little bit better. For now though, thanks for watching. Sarge out.